I poured this on my compost almost out of curiosity, and within weeks the entire process changed in ways I didn't expect. So before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment with your composting experience, and share this with another gardener who's serious about building real soil, because this one quietly transforms how compost behaves. This isn't hype, it's biology at work. And once you understand it, you'll never look at compost the same way again. What I poured on my compost was diluted human urine. And yes, that usually stops people mid-sentence. But stay with me, because experienced gardeners who care about results already know nitrogen is the engine that drives decomposition. Compost doesn't fail because of magical mystery. It fails because microbes run out of fuel. Urine happens to be one of the most nitrogen-dense, immediately available sources you can produce daily, and when used correctly, it accelerates composting without harming soil life. Why compost often stalls, even when you think you're doing everything right, comes down to carbon overload. Most home compost piles are packed with dry leaves, cardboard, sawdust, straw, and kitchen scraps that lean heavily carbon-rich. Microbes need nitrogen to multiply and digest that material. Without it, they slow down, heat drops, and the pile sits unchanged for months. When I added diluted urine, microbial activity spiked, heat returned, and materials that had sat untouched began collapsing into dark, crumbly humus. How to use urine safely and effectively starts with dilution, because raw urine is concentrated and can overwhelm microbes or create ammonia loss if dumped straight. The ratio that consistently works is 1 part fresh urine to 10 parts water for active compost piles. For example, a 1-liter container of urine diluted into a 10-liter watering can is ideal. This dilution prevents nitrogen burn, spreads nutrients evenly, and keeps odors under control. Apply it directly to dry carbon layers, not to already wet kitchen scraps, so the nitrogen gets absorbed instead of evaporating. When and where to pour it makes a bigger difference than most people realize. Compost microbes work best when moisture and nitrogen arrive together. I pour the diluted mix immediately after turning the pile or when adding a fresh layer of leaves or shredded cardboard. This ensures the nitrogen binds to carbon instead of escaping as gas. If your pile is dry and slow, this single application can restart heat within 48 hours, especially in warm climates. What actually changed inside the compost pile after using it was impossible to ignore. Temperatures rose faster and stayed stable longer. Fungal threads appeared sooner, and volume reduction accelerated. A pile that usually took 6 months to mature finished in closer to 10 weeks. More importantly, the final compost smelled rich and earthy, not sharp or sour, which tells you nitrogen was captured and converted into stable organic matter rather than lost. How often to apply it without overdoing things depends on pile size and materials. For a standard 1 cubic meter pile, heavy in dry matter, applying diluted urine once every 7 to 10 days during active composting is enough. Smaller bins benefit from lighter applications every 2 weeks. The goal is to feed microbes, not saturate them. If you smell ammonia, you've added too much at once and should immediately add dry carbon and turn the pile. Why this method produces better humus rather than just faster compost comes down to nitrogen retention. Nitrogen is what gives humus its long-term fertility. Compost made without enough nitrogen breaks down, but it lacks staying power in soil. Compost made with adequate nitrogen forms stable complexes that hold nutrients and water for years. When I applied this compost to garden beds, plants showed deeper green growth without additional fertilizer, and soil structure improved noticeably within 1 season. How this fits into organic and regenerative gardening is important for serious growers. Urine is sterile when fresh, free of pathogens, and contains nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and trace minerals already balanced by biology. Using it closes a nutrient loop that most gardens leak every day. Instead of importing synthetic nitrogen that disrupts soil life, you're feeding microbes directly with something they evolved to use efficiently. What beginners should watch for so they don't misuse it is simple awareness. Always dilute. Always apply to carbon-heavy compost, not directly to plants unless heavily diluted. Never store urine for long periods because nitrogen converts to ammonia over time. Fresh is best, simple is better, and moderation beats enthusiasm. What this changed for me wasn't just faster compost, it was control. I stopped guessing why piles stalled, why heat vanished, or why finished compost felt weak. I could correct problems instantly with something already available, and the results were consistent. That reliability is what separates casual composting from serious soil building. If this helped you rethink how compost really works, subscribe to Evergreen Garden, share this with a gardener who's tired of slow piles, and drop a comment below with your own compost experiments or questions. Because the best gardens are built when knowledge circulates as efficiently as nutrients do.